What is going on, everybody? Josh here from Dark Horse Tackle with special guest Ryan Parker. Say hi to everybody.
Hey, everyone.
So, we have got a very special box for July. The July box was the River and Creek box, curated by Ryan Parker himself, given to you by Dark Horse Tackle. As you can see on the front here, we've got some custom artwork on this box done by Cheryl Bentley, Where Water Meets Air, on the Instagram. Thank you so much, Cheryl, for the super awesome design. And this is a special box, and I'm going to let Ryan do most of the talking once we get through this introduction part. But we've got 7 baits in this box. Once you see this bifold, open up the box, you're going to see Ryan's face on it right here holding up a fish. We have got 7 baits in this box. I repeat, everybody, 7 baits are in this box. 2 perfect pairings. That is 4 baits included in that pairing. But this box is a very universal, well-rounded box in the sense that almost everything works together. But let's not hear it from me. Let's talk to Ryan about it. What's going on with this box, Ryan?
You said it. I like things to be versatile, and so a lot of things in this box work well individually and with each other. We have our perfect pairings in here, but there's other stuff like some of the soft plastics go well with 2 of the jigs that are in this box. Some of those soft plastics fish very well by themselves with jigs carried in the bait shop. There's a lot going on in this box, and it has a lot to do with alternative forage species that you're going to find in rivers and creeks.
Everybody knows smallmouth, largemouth, spotted bass, they all eat crawdads. But this is more, centered around, like Ryan just said, those subspecies, those lesser focused species. I say we just dig into the box right now. We'll get the hard bait out of the way. First things first, we've got the little digger from Stone Man. This is a 4 to 6, maybe even 8-foot diving flat-sided crankbait that does very well in skinny water. Flat-sided crankbaits are great year-round, often overthought or even underthought. And we did something very special with this crankbait. We did nothing but crayfish patterns or invertebrate patterns. That was just, well, I'll let Ryan explain it. Ryan, why did we do all these crayfish patterns?
This time of year, there's crawdads all over these creeks and rivers, and they're very active. They're very skittish, active. They move fast. They move a lot. That's part of the flat side thing is when you get clean water, clear water, especially what we have a lot of times in July. That flat side is a more natural presentation, and this particular one, like a lot of them, big on one end, small on the other. It looks a lot like a crayfish swimming away from other predators.
Not to mention all the deflection that you're going to get from this bait, especially when you're fishing shallow water. You get some great deflection from this particular crankbait, allowing it to come off as some sort of fleeing forage, which will always generate a reaction strike from bass. Next up, we've got one part of your perfect pairing. This is the Brazalo Swim Jig. We've got a bunch of sizes, a bunch of colors for you guys. And you know what, Ryan? Let's grab that perfect pairing there. This is the Bitters Big Swimmer. This is a 5.5-inch paddle tail swim bait. This is a big bite generating combination right here that, again, this can be fished year round, and it is great in skinny water. Ryan, what was the thought process behind this?
Big shiners, creek chubs, things that get big, that big smallmouth in particular really feed on.
Yeah. I've seen this guy catch multiple smallmouth over 17 inches with this particular combo in the past few weeks. We've also just been putting together a ton of fish clips for you guys. You'll see them scattered throughout the video.
Yeah, this thing comes through a lot of cover really well. Wood, grass, just everything you find on the river. Everybody throws a spinnerbait. Everybody throws a bladed jig of some sort. Not a lot of people throw a swim jig with a big boot tail. It's a big presence, a lot of vibration, and it's something that a lot of people overlook.
And this brings up a very interesting topic. Rivers and creeks do face pressure the same way that big waters do. And I feel in a skinnier ecosystem, it might even face more pressure. These fish will get hip and they will start to know and see and look out for certain things that end up getting them caught and pulled out of the water. So you really have an advantage here with some rarities and a tournament winning, very decorated kayak angler giving you the juice. Now, the second part of that perfect pairing is the big swimmer. How do you prefer to fish this, Ryan?
By itself, I prefer to put it on a lightly weighted hook, screw lock type swim bait style hook, usually like a 3/32 ounce, and I usually fish it on top as like kind of a buzz toad style thing. It is a swim bait. You can of course just fish it as a swim bait, but I like to gurgle this thing along the top. It gets some, just draws explosive strikes.
Yeah, the bigger mass on that bait is really going to help you keep it up top of the water too. And that keel weight at the bottom is going to keep it balanced. It's going to keep it steady. It's going to keep it going straight. But one of my favorite things about this particular swim bait is that it does have a really nice wobble. And on certain applications, it almost hunts, as they like to say, where that bait will wobble so much it kind of goes side to side. And you'll get that kind of action with a heavier ball head jig. And the way that Ryan likes to work it is a perfect example of beating that pressure when, you know, a buzzbait bite just isn't getting it done. Highly consider something like a big swimmer. Next up, we have got a very unique finesse soft plastic. This is the Big Joshy Goby, and this is another part to that perfect pairing. But first things first, how are you going to fish this by itself?
By itself, I love this thing on a ball head jig or like a sled head style bait.
Yeah.
I fish this on the bottom. I work it with the reel a lot more than the rod. Just treat it like a finesse swim bait and just crawl it along the bottom. Absolutely crushes it in clear water.
I imagine when the bite is slow too and that reaction strike just isn't there, that more natural finesse profile, especially with it looking pretty much like a real goby or a real bait fish, absolutely helps once it's tumbling down some current or you're just giving it no action.
There's tons of darters in a lot of systems, and it imitates those perfectly, and that tail catches a lot more water when there's current moving when it's just sitting on the bottom. So a lot of times if it's one of those spots where you're like, man, there is a fish in there, I will throw this in on a ball head and I'll just dead stick it because this bait's doing all the work for you.
Nice. Now let's talk about the pairing that it comes with, the Bass Dope Pillhead Jig. This is a very finesse rugby head, football head style jig with a 90-degree line tie that's vertical. This thing's meant to be fished in that moving water, in those rocks. It's going to sink fast, it's going to sink straight down, and it's going to keep you out of getting hung up in those rocks a lot. But this is a really exciting jig for us. We love Bass Dope. We love everything that these companies come out with, and this is just one of those companies that you're going to keep seeing more and more often because of the versatility and how cool these baits are. Now, when you're fishing this particular jig, what kind of trailers are you throwing on it, and how are you fishing it?
First and foremost, I like the goby on it. I'm fishing it a lot the same way as that ball head. I'm using the reel and I'm crawling this thing around the bottom, you know, similar to, you know, a bottom bouncing swim bait type situation. That light weed guard on this and the lighter wire hook allow for good hook penetration. When you fish it this way, you can also pair this with one of the next baits coming up or your favorite kind of crawl chunk style trailers. Yeah. It's going to be like this one jig paired with the right thing can cover just about every base that you can find in the river.
The universal nature of that jig particular, it's gonna accommodate a small trailer, it's gonna accommodate a big trailer, it's gonna accommodate trailers with a lot of action or trailers with a little action. And speaking of a lot of action, let's go ahead and just get on with that next bait. We have got the Interceptor Impulse. This is a very unique style bait. As you can see with Ryan holding it up, you've got these wings at the beginning of the bait, and then you've got these chunk style paddles, claws, however you want to describe them at the end of the bait. The bait's about 3.5 inches long too, which allows you to fish it in a lot of applications. And like Ryan was saying, that is also a great pairing on both of these jigs. Now, in regards to this Impulse, I know how I would love to rig it. It makes a great bladed jig trailer, makes a great weed whacker or buzz bait trailer, but I've been fishing it particularly on this Brazalo weed whacker that we've got in the shop. Lots of action from this bait, and the wings on it, the gliding part will help it stay up. But Ryan, how do you like to fish it?
A lot of ways.
Yep.
This thing has a lot of versatility in just through its design. In this box, I like to put it on the jig. I like to fish it by itself. I like to put it on the swim jig in certain occasions. I really like it on an HH Customs micro blade
Yeah.
because of the wings. It kind of turns that bait into a wake bait. It gives this thing a lot, it gives that particular bladed jig a lot of lift. We have experimented a little bit.
Yes, we
and
have.
found it works extremely well free rigged.
Yep.
Extremely well.
We'll get into the free rig here in a second because the last bait is a bait that, again, it's similar to this impulse and the open-mindedness. Like, let's open our minds here. Let's fish things different ways. Let's be versatile anglers, right? This is more than just a Texas rig bait. All of these baits are more than just the inside-the-box way of thinking. You can attach a ton of trailers that are not only in this box but on our website, and you can fish everything a bunch of different ways with either baits on our sites or baits in this box, which makes this even more of a versatile box.
I actually love it on the perfected ball head jig.
Yeah.
These wings, when you fish it that way, prevent that hook from rolling onto the bottom as you're drifting it along the bottom. It prevents a lot of snags, but still gives you that open hook presentation that you just don't miss fish that way.
Nice. Now, let's get on to the very last bait. We have got a new company for everybody. This is the Mule Fishing Bluegrass Bug. And forewarning, this bug does not mix well with other plastics. Please keep it in the hard shell case that it came with. It is stretchy. It is durable. It is a slow floating style bait. You can keep this bait up in the top of the water, but enough for me. Ryan, how are you fishing this thing?
I love this thing as a topwater, first and foremost.
So how do you make that a topwater?
So how do I make this a topwater? I use a light wire wacky hook thrown on, a lot lighter or BFS gear, and that allows it to float. Just remember, whatever side you hook is going to float. That's going to be the tail down side. I like to go either through the nose or the butt of the bug, and it doesn't take much. A lot of the strikes happen right as this thing plops on the water. It's phenomenal fished around like overhanging grass edges.
Yeah, I prefer this bait on a free rig. It was just an experiment. And what a free rig is you're taking a drop shot weight, specifically one with the swivel tie at the top of the bait, putting your line through that, then attaching your hook, similar to a Texas rig. Weedless, just like a Texas rig. I'm using an EWG hook. I'm going to use the biggest hook I can get away with in regards to this small bait. So that is a 2 to 3/0 EWG hook. I'm going to use like a 1/4 ounce, and I might bump it up depending on the flow of the river, but I'm using a 1/4 ounce weight, and I'm just going to make a cast, and I'm going to fish it either similarly to the way Ryan likes to fish at Goby. I'm just going to kind of reel it through cover, throw it into the current, let it come back to me, or I'm going to pitch it similarly to a regular Texas rig. And again, with this bug, the versatility is unmatched, and with this entire box, it really is a treat. It really was a great experience just picking this guy's brain and being like, okay, so what are you doing? How are you fishing all this stuff? Because yes, there's 7 baits, but there's like 100 different ways to fish everything in this box. And this was really a treat because it's just like, you've got a guy who's a Dark Horse Tackle customer that wanted to curate a box with us, and he really went out and showed us every single way to fish almost everything at a subscription box rate, particularly skinny water, creeks and rivers, but do not shy away from your ponds, your canals, your lakes. Heck, there's probably some things in here that'll catch fish in the ocean. But in all seriousness, Ryan, you've put together an incredible box, a very versatile box, full art box again. Thank you, Cheryl Bentley. Ryan, do you have any more words to say before we go fishing?
Enjoy it.
Enjoy it. Hey, until next time, everybody, we've got a heater coming out for you in August. Absolute skunk-proof box, just like the rest of them. Dark Horse Tackle, we fish. See you later.